Bradley Woods, Lincolnshire, England. It was sometime in the 1920s when this event took place. A young family of 3, a mother, father, and a son, were wandering through these trees, all of whom were picking wildflowers to place on the grave of their dead child and sibling. In that moment, it seems that the somber nature of their task had overwhelmed the mother in grief. She suddenly fell to her knees, paralyzed by the emotional toll of her and her family's loss. The father and son consoled the stricken mother, as the woods filled with the sounds of sobbing and weeping. However, it was not the mother who was crying. These sounds, they were coming from somewhere else, somewhere within the trees. Confused, the father and his son scanned their surroundings until at last they spotted the source of this unseen crying. Emerging through the trees stood a lady in black. Her face, distorted by an unearthly anguish, continued to weep, seemingly in the direction of the stricken family. There was something strangely captivating about this pitiful figure. She was surely in need of help. Just who was this person? In a trance, the boy ceased comforting his mother and began to approach the mysterious lady in black. When the boy reached the figure, he felt compelled to reach out and hold her hand, to which he did. In that moment, the father snapped out of his trance and stood up. He angrily demanded the strange woman release his son, to which she did. And before all 3 of them, the weeping woman vanished, leaving the woods in a sudden and empty silence. The 3 of them looked at each other, dumbfounded, and the mother, who was up until then overwhelmed by grief, suddenly found herself released from her paralysis. She rose to her feet, and her family joined her. And, without another word, the 3 of them left those woods, never to return. This 100-acre woods is located south of the village of Bradley, hence where it gets its name. This place is an English heritage site composed of ancient woodland, meadows, ponds, and bird-feeding sites for locals, and of course is a natural home to wildlife. Despite its quiet serenity, there is something else that resides deep within these trees. Something dark. The locals speak of a black-hooded woman whose weeping is often heard before she is seen. Her face strewn in tears and with an expression of ravaged agony, she will ask you, "Have you seen my baby?" Other times she is seen standing at the edge of the woods, staring aimlessly over the fields, her eyes red with anguish. Children are advised to stay away from this place after dark, lest they be taken by the Black Lady of Bradley Woods. It was the time of the Wars of the Roses. England was going through something of a civil war. Between the 1450s and 1480s, the country was fractured in multiple warring houses and militias. These woodlands stood at that time, just as they do today. It is believed that a small cottage once resided within these trees. Inside, a small family lived, a mother, father, and a baby. One day, the father was called up to fight in the war. Consequently, he left his wife and baby behind. From that day onward, the mother, with her baby in her arms, would trek through this lonely woods and stop when she reached the edge. She would spend much of her time watching over the empty fields before her, waiting for her husband's eventual return. Day after day she repeated her trek, and after each time she did, she watched waited and hoped. Until one day, across those barren and empty fields, she finally saw something. People. Figures on horseback were approaching from the distance. The mother's joy at such a long-awaited sight slowly started to fall into panic. She recognized the insignias on the flags they bore. They were enemy soldiers. An entire enemy army was headed straight towards her. In a panic, and holding her baby close, the mother retreated back into the woods as the sounds of galloping horses grew louder and louder, until she was caught up by 3 soldiers on horseback. The woodlands, it seemed, would provide ample cover for the vicious cruelty these men would inflict. They proceeded to violently beat and ravage her, leaving her within an inch of death. However, this was not the worst punishment they would inflict on the poor woman. One of the men picked up her screaming baby as all 3 of them rode off into the woods, laughing. The wails of her baby slowly vanished with the 3 horsemen. From that day onwards, the Lady of the Woods cut a pitiful figure. She spent her day searching the woods, searching now for her missing baby. Even after she died, the local people continued to report seeing a black-clad lady wandering through the woods, weeping. These reports continue to this very day. It is said that if you enter Bradley Woods on New Year's Day and shout 3 times, Black Lady, I've stolen your baby," you will summon her. England is home to many such ancient and mysterious woodlands, most, if not all, of which contain some kind of legend or entity. Bradley Woods being but one example. Tonight, on Urban Folklore, we explore some of England's most haunted woodlands. Wistman's Wood, located in Dartmoor, Devon, is one of the oldest forests in England. Dating as far back as 7,000 years, this 9-acre wood is thought to be the remnants of a much larger forest that once covered all of Dartmoor. The current surviving oak trees are estimated to be around 400 to 500 years in age. This sporadic and rather strange-looking woodland is in fact an ancient temperate rainforest, one of the last to still exist in England. Naturally, of course, an ancient woodland has ascribed to it an ancient mythology. The most popular legend to have grown amongst these trees is that of the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt. I spoke of this in more detail in my Black Shug video. To summarize, the Wild Hunt, Germanic in origin, is a folkloric motif which describes a supernatural event to which a spectral group of huntsmen are witnessed on horseback riding through the air, often accompanied by hellhounds. It is said that Wistman's Wood has often been the arena for the Wild Hunt. Indeed, the dark and mysterious quality that makes up this woodland seems to act as a gateway to a time long past, but a culture never forgotten. The Anglo-Saxons, when they settled this land, brought with them their folklore and ascribed a unique and mystical presence to the woodlands they came across. The original god of the English is a frenzied entity who goes by the name Woden. Woden, being a god of war amongst many other things, was on some occasions described as leading the wild hunt. It is perhaps important to note that Woden is also the god of hanging. Within Germanic and Anglo-Saxon mythology, Woden is described as hanging from the world tree in an act of self-sacrifice. He hung for 9 nights, and through his suffering and torment, he acquired divine wisdom and magical power. As such, English woodlands have become symbolic and holy gateways of divinity and wisdom. The cult of Woden, or Wodenists, would practice their worship by hanging dead animals in trees as sacrifices to Woden. A practice that may still be continuing, albeit with the original meaning lost or obscured. I have vague memories myself of seeing bones and skulls high up in trees in forests I grew up near, the image of which had always stuck with me. Wistman's Wood, while a fragment in size of what it once was, still carries the memory of an ancient mythos to this very day. It is unwise to stay here after dark, lest the wild hunt make its appearance over these trees. For if you are seen by the spectral huntsmen or their hounds, they will pursue you, capture you, and drag you to hell. Epping Forest. Located between London and Essex, this 6,000-acre forest is Neolithic in age. In the 12th century, this forest was once used as a royal hunting ground by Henry II. Since then, subsequent royals and aristocrats would follow tradition of royal ownership of these trees. However, Epping Forest's connection to royalty dates back much further than Henry II. In around the year 60 AD, Queen Boudica, or Boudicca, of the Iceni tribe, led a radical crusade against the Roman occupiers of Britain. She is said to have built and created her army under the shroud of Epping Forest. To this day, war drums can still be heard, and phantom soldiers are often seen emerging from the ponds and lakes inside the forest. Somewhere within these trees resides the Suicide Pool. It is described as a mysterious natural pool that entices people to kill themselves in or around it. If you are to approach this elusive pool, you'll be hit by a strong compulsion to enter the murky waters and submerge yourself. If you are able to resist this dark urge for long enough, 2 faceless figures will slowly emerge from the water, at which point they will beckon you to join them. It is believed that sometime in the 1700s, a young couple embarked on a secret and forbidden relationship in which they would meet up at the pool deep within the forest. One day, the girl's father learned of this forbidden relationship, and, in a fit of rage, he killed her at the pool. The girl's lover arrived soon after, only to find her murdered. Out of despair, the young man killed himself at the very same spot his love was lost. Since that day, it is said that the birds never sing in that part of the forest, and the water of the pool mysteriously turned black. The pool has gained a notorious reputation as a suicide hotspot. Many people have been found drowned or hanged in this area. Most people seem to agree that the pool in question is in fact the Lost Pond of Epping Forest, although there are some who insist that the true location of the suicide pool resides deeper within the trees. Either way though, it is said to be a place of great evil. Many highwaymen have used this forest as a cover for their criminal acts, murder being one of them. The forest's close proximity to London made it an effective and unofficial burial ground of many murder victims. And this remains true of the modern day, with the London Mafia of the 1960s making use of Epping Forest as a dumping ground. As such, Epping Forest gained a violent and gloomy reputation, a reputation of which that would soon manifest. Bloody, corpse-like figures are said to stagger around within these trees. They've been described as shambling and emaciated. There have even been modern-day accounts of people driving through the forest, only for their car to be rushed by such hellish entities. The Wake Arms roundabout is infamous for a plethora of activity, including regular sightings of a headless horseman and a headless biker. It is commonly stated by locals that if you park your car along the road of the Wake Arms roundabout, you will feel your car being pulled up the hill, supposedly by an invisible hangman. Derring Woods is situated 2 miles south of the village of Pluckley in Kent. It is a 300-acre wood, roughly 2,000 years in age. The wood is situated on one of the oldest Neolithic sites in the world. Derring Woods is otherwise known as the Screaming Woods, on account of the blood-curdling screams that are often heard emanating from this woodland at night. Lone travellers have been scared witless by a sudden loud and anguished scream that sends the birds flapping. During misty days, whispers and the mumbling of disembodied voices echo between the trees. The village of Pluckley, which is not too far from Derring Woods, is listed as the most haunted village in the UK, with a myriad of different spectres and ghouls apparently haunting the place. Derring Woods has seemingly become a home for many of these ghostly entities. Sometime in the 1700s, a highwayman, who reportedly went by the name Robert Dubois, found himself getting chased by the locals through the woods. The highwayman surely knew death would be his fate should he be caught by the approaching mob. In his desperation, the highwayman spotted a hollowed-out tree and sought the opportunity to hide. Clambering inside the hollow tree, he hid and waited anxiously as the footsteps of the enraged locals rapidly approached. Unfortunately for the highwayman, however, his actions would only serve to seal his fate. A group of villagers had spotted him hiding in the tree trunk. Now trapped, the highwayman could do nothing as the villagers thrust their bayonets through the brittle bark and into the man's chest. His corpse was left to rot inside the hollowed-out tree. Nowadays, when wandering through the woods, you may see a dead face peering out at you through cracks in trees. Many people have seen a tree with a ghostly human face peering through its solid trunk before instantly vanishing. Others have also described seeing a ghostly corpse of a man without a head, pinned to a tree by a bayonet, slumped over and unmoving. The visage of an 18th century army colonel has often been witnessed marching soundlessly through these woods in full military uniform. Other times he is found hanging from a tree. He is said to be the ghost of a soldier who committed suicide in these woods. Sometime around the early 1900s, the edge of Daring Woods was said to be home to a small brickworks. Employees were tasked with digging large pits, with which to pour vast quantities of clay to mix and set. One day, a single employee was working at the pit when, by accident, the clay was released and poured in, burying the hapless man alive. His screams were described as frenzied and anguished, before he was silenced by the suffocating clay. Some say the screams of Daring Wood originate from this event. Cannock Chase Forest, located in Staffordshire, is approximately 4,000 acres in size. It is roughly 30 kilometers north of Birmingham and is around 1,000 years in age. This forest was created during the reign of William the Conqueror as a royal hunting ground. It had been carved out of the surrounding woodland, which dates back some 8,000 years. Cannock Chase is home to many war graves, specifically the graves of captured German soldiers from both World Wars. As such, sightings of soldiers drifting through the trees is commonly reported. However, these graves are not the only ones in Cannock Chase. Cannock Chase earned an infamous reputation in the 1960s, when the Cannock Chase murders made national headlines. The remains of 3 young girls were found here. Their names were Margaret Reynolds, Diana Tift, and Christine Darby. They were aged between 5 and 7. Raymond Leslie Morris had been found guilty of their murders and was sentenced to life imprisonment. He died in prison in 2014. Since then, many woodland trekkers have reported seeing a black-eyed girl. The black-eyed girl is consistently described as approaching wayfarers, with her hands to her face. She then removes her hands to reveal solid black eyes, before giggling and disappearing into nothingness. This video from a drone at Cannock Chase caught the attention of many ghost hunters, seemingly convinced the camera had caught the apparition on film. This is where a lot of people first learned of the mythology surrounding this place, myself included. Regardless of what was caught on film, the legend of the black-eyed girl remains preserved by the trees of Cannock Chase. In 1993, an elderly couple travelling to Cannock Chase reported seeing a bizarre creature which allegedly chased them out of the forest, never to return. The old couple were heading towards the car park at the edge of the forest when they heard an odd scrambling in the foliage. They looked back to see a strange man crawling on his hands and knees, seemingly in the direction of the couple. This odd person was described as wearing rural old-style clothes. However, it was not his clothing nor his mannerisms that froze the couple in fear. It was his head. His head was that of a pig. The couple raced to their car as this strange pig man continued to crawl after them. Once they made it to their car, they locked the doors. They sat there in astonishment as they witnessed this creature emerge from the tree line. As the couple started the engine, this creature rose to its feet and stood at the edge of the forest. Whoever or whatever it was stood at over 7 feet tall. As the couple hastily drove away, they heard the creature let out a blood-curdling scream, as if a squeal and roar were mixed together. The legends of Cannock Chase are often characterized by cryptids, perhaps even more so than anything else, with phantom dogs, cats, and even UFOs associated with the area. Castle Ring is an Iron Age hill fort situated high up on the southern edge of Cannock Chase. Many creatures and cryptids have been spotted here, including the alleged Pigman. What exactly this hill fort was when it stood is not exactly clear. The significance of its location, along with the variety of alleged cryptids within the area, has led many people to conclude that Castle Ring is some kind of gateway to another dimension. Visitors often report the sounds of hammering and chanting. On some misty mornings, a tall figure in black is said to stalk the area. He is described as wearing a long Victorian overcoat and bears red eyes with sharp, pointed teeth. Witchwood Forest, Oxfordshire. Stepping into this forest at night, you may be puzzled by the sounds of crying children. If you choose to step deeper and follow the sound, you will be confronted by a ghostly horse-drawn carriage carrying weeping children. Wepham Wood, West Sussex. This wood is said to be haunted by a dwarf-like creature that stalks and scares courting couples. He is also said to manifest as a disfigured warrior on horseback who rides through the trees. Wenlock Edge, Shropshire. During the English Civil War, Major Smallman, a royalist, was cornered by Cromwell's troops on Wenlock Edge. Rather than surrender, he rode his horse off the edge, falling about 200 feet. He survived by landing on an apple tree, but his horse died. The area is known as Major's Leap, and is said to be haunted by both the ghosts of Smallman and his horse. So, just what is a woodland? I suppose the surface answer to this question is that they are merely geographical features of an ordinary landscape. They exist in the outdoors, where people rarely tread nowadays. And yet, within these woodlands, something resides within their interior. Of course, they are a home, a habitat for many of the native and sacred creatures that dwell within them. But beyond that, woodlands are also a home for memory. Memory of a time and culture long past, preserved in those ancient oaks and ashes. However, this mystique of woodlands is not merely limited to the English countryside. You may think that the local woods near you contains nothing of significance, but you may surprise yourself if you look hard enough. Folklore is everywhere, and the richest folklore is often found in those obscure little pockets of woodland that no one ever talks about. I'd be very interested to hear what kind of legends surround you, wherever you may be. Protect your woodlands, protect your forests, and in return, they will preserve and protect your culture for as long as they stand. The memory they preserve is the gateway to our heritage and the world beyond.